Well, hey, you, and welcome back to another episode of the Western Hippie Podcast. I'm your host, Michaela, here with my corgis, Tank and Willie. And today we're going to talk about a topic that I've really been learning since late 2021. And it recently has come up again. If you listened to my last episode, you know that I recently lost my childhood horse, what we would call my soul or heart horse. And the theme came up again as I've been navigating the grief after losing him. And so I wanted to talk about it today because I feel like this is a black sheep topic, if you will. You can maybe call it a taboo topic. But it's one of actually, and I was thinking about this because I was debating between two topics today. And the one topic was, and I think I will do a separate episode on this, but I am going to touch on it right now, is why I left the personal development industry. And part of it is this. It's because we're obsessed with always being okay, when the truth is, sometimes the healing is in not being okay. Sometimes the thing that we need is to really sink into the suck, because it's actually pain that initiates change into our lives. Every emotion we experience has a purpose, and the purpose of pain is to transform. And so if we keep doing things to mediate the pain, if we keep doing things to manage the pain, to numb the pain, we're actually not allowing ourselves to get to the bottom of that pain, which is where the transformation is going to live. And so the first time this topic came up for me, and if you have not listened to this, I will link it below in the show notes. I highly recommend you go listen to this episode because I think it's just a really powerful episode, and the story and the message and everything is just super powerful. And it's something, it's my podcast and it's my experience, that I go back and visit it because that's how powerful it was in my own life. But it was my first experience with MDMA therapy. What I did after my first MDMA session was I wrote what some people would call a trip report. And then I read my trip report with some edits, because there were some private things that came up in my trip that I'm like, that's between me and me, is on the podcast. And this was the first time that the concept of saying it was not okay was actually where my freedom lived. So if you don't know my story, I'll give you just a quick overview if you're new to the podcast. If you've been around for a minute, you know my story. I experienced sexual assault when I was 12. And after I experienced that and really had gone through one of the court cases and then was starting the second court case, I met somebody who had also experienced sexual assault when she was a kid. And I'm trying to remember how old she was when I met her. I want to say late 40s coming 50. So I'm 14, she's late 40s. So there's an age gap is what the picture I'm wanting to paint here. So there was an age gap between her and I. And so she had experienced this thing. She was 20, 30 years further down the road than I currently was with my experience of this sexual assault. And I really believe that whether you believe in God, the universe, source, divine intervention, whatever you want to call, sometimes I joke around and I call it the Force because I love Star Wars, whatever you want to call the thing that is bigger than us, really brought this person into my life as a warning that if you don't heal your ish, this is what your future is. This is what your life is going to look like. And again, there was nothing right or wrong with her. This is a person I still talk to, still have a really special place in my heart for. And the life that she was living was not the life that I wanted to live. And so I really felt like, hey, warning, this is where you're going to go if you don't, because she still hated him. She still had this deep hate in her heart. And I could see that the hate was not hurting him. It was hurting her. And so when I joke around and say, my first step to my healing journey was to just, I just say my first step in my healing journey was to just not hate the bastard. Like that was my goal. And so because of that, I really, at 14, had started a commitment and promise to myself that I was never going to let this trauma control my life. I was never going to let this trauma be the captain of my ship, the driver of my car, whatever you want to call it. That was a commitment that I had made back when I was 14. So in that, again, I had a really well-intentioned, just did not have the tools to productively meet that intention. I just started telling myself, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Like, it's okay that it happened because I'm going to be better from it. I'm going to, whatever you want to say. And essentially what the MDMA showed me as I was in my first MDMA therapy was all of that was a form of suppression. And every time I said something was okay when it wasn't, it was getting stored and trapped within my body. And what was really interesting, specifically with the MDMA therapy, is what the MDMA was showing me was every time I said it was okay when it wasn't, other than it like getting trapped in my body, I had experienced really, I had a pretty gnarly experience with binge eating. And what the MDMA showed me was every time I said it was okay when it wasn't, like I was literally swallowing my emotions, and to physically do that, I was using food to swallow and bury these emotions. And it was just the first time that I realized the thing that I was doing was not the thing that was setting me free. It was the thing that was keeping me trapped. But so many of us, and again, this is what I see as, I'm trying not to say right or wrong or good or bad. I really like the words productive and counterproductive, but this is something I'm seeing in the personal development space that is counterproductive for a lot of people, is there are all these things that, again, are just micromanaging these symptoms. It's not actually allowing us to get to the root of what is really wrong, to get to, as I said earlier, to the bottom of that pain. And one of these things is doing all of these things to make us okay when we're not, instead of just admitting we're not okay. Because the crazy thing is as I kept going through, so the MDMA took me through all of these memories. And when I got to each of these memories, it would say, okay, it's not okay. It's not okay. And I was going through and I was allowing myself to admit and say, like, this was not okay. You know, when my aunt, when I was younger, cheated on my uncle, and we were very close to my aunt's family. I was very close. Her one kid, my parents had my sister and I when they were older. So all of my cousins are 15 plus years older than me. And my one cousin I was just super close with him. And so when my aunt cheated on my uncle, like, we never saw her because she took off to another state. And even then, as a 4 or 5-year-old, I had already started the, like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And so went back to that, said, no, that wasn't okay. That wasn't okay that she just left the family and took off. And I did hurt. And that was okay that I was hurt from that, because that really rocked our family dynamic. You know, we went to Disneyland with them. They came over every Sunday for dinner. Like, that was just gone. And even after my parents split up, I really felt like it was my aunt and uncle and her kids that they bridged that gap, if you will. You know, they still came over for dinner, and it kept the family dynamic alive even after my parents had split up. And so I was able to go back and say, like, no, that wasn't okay. And then went to the sexual assault and was able to say, no, that wasn't okay. You know, went to when I lost my first horse and was able to say, no, that wasn't okay. Go through all of these memories, and every memory I'm getting to, as I'm saying, no, that's not okay, I'm laying down in the bed for the MDMA therapy, but I could physically feel my body move. I could feel my body stand, like, get up straighter. I could feel this pressure that was just living in my body just release. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences. So fast forward to today, I now do what I would call, it's the closest thing I've ever experienced to psychedelics without the psychedelics, or without any form of, like, meds. So my mentor calls it spiritual guidance. I've been trying to figure out a different word for it because I don't know that spiritual guidance describes what it is the best. Essentially, similar to the MDMA, let's say my ankle was hurting. I can go find the age at which that was created, the trapped emotion associated with the ankle pain. Again, this is different if you broke your ankle in a car wreck or something. This is just random ankle pain that shows up, quote unquote, random. And so we can go back, find it, release it, and walking through that is the closest thing I've ever experienced to psychedelic medicine. And so that's what I do now. So after my horse had passed away, I booked a session with my mentor and I wanted to walk through this. And that was what came through again, was that actually my healing, my grief right now is just allowing myself to not be okay. And because I've had the experience with the MDMA therapy, it's actually it was simple for me to take that advice, because I know that every time I try to make myself okay when I'm not, it comes out in a different way, right? Like back when I was doing the MDMA therapy, it was coming out in the form of binge eating. Right now, where it tends to come out is I will spend too much time on my phone. And so, or you know what I mean? And so that was the permission slip that I really wanted to give you today. That it's okay to not be okay. You don't need to go on a walk for 45 minutes to make yourself feel okay. You are allowed to just sit and feel the feelings that are making you not okay, because it's actually when we feel those feelings that we release them. And once those feelings are released, we will be okay. But when we're constantly trying to manage it, like I said, it's just putting a Band-Aid over a wound that needs stitches. And the other thing that I've just learned along my journey is the truth really does set us free. And when we continuously tell ourselves we're okay when we're not, it's lying to ourselves. And that, creates distrust within ourselves. And that creates, us not being able to listen to our intuition because we're not trusting ourselves, and not being able to listen to our intuition, it leads to a plethora of other things. And so today's going to be a little bit of a short and sweet episode. I just felt like there's someone out there who, like me, needs the permission to not be okay. And again, if I just want to preface that, if you're at a point where you need help, reach out to get help. If you're in a big dark black hole, get help. Get help. Reach out for help. Again, it's okay to not be okay, and it is also okay to reach out and get support. You don't want to let yourself go so deep into a dark hole that no one's there to help you out. I have been in those places, and those are not fun to be in either. Specifically, more what I'm talking about is, if you're sad, let yourself feel the sadness. If you're angry, let yourself feel the anger. Don't try to go on a walk, go on a run, take an extra shot of something to make yourself feel okay. Like, just allow yourself to sit with the uncomfortableness, because it's when we get to the bottom of that uncomfortableness that we are actually able to transform. So thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Western Hippie Podcast. If you found value out of this episode, I would be so thankful if you would subscribe so you get notified when I'm like, my words are just all over the place. I'd be so you get notified every time a new episode releases. And if you feel so called, I would love for you to rate and review the show, to get the show into the hands of people who need to hear it. It really is a group effort here, a group effort on my part for me to record and release the episodes, and then a group effort on your part to rate and review, because that is what pushes the podcast out to other people that need to hear it. So if you feel so called, I would be so honored. Until then, Tank Willie, until next time, my words are done. This is why today's episode is short. Until next time, Tank Willie and I will talk to you later.